Thanks for watching The Instant Reaction. For full episodes of The Cannon Podcast, sign up as a YouTube member on this channel or go to patreon.com/thecannonpod. Welcome back to The Instant Reaction. Arsenal 2, Brentford 1, 8 wins in a row. The first time we've done that in 9 years.
Jeez.
We are in unbelievable form. But Bhavs, that was so stressful.
Okay, I'm going to give you a different perspective. I found it very enjoyable.
I found it really stressful. So go first, sir.
The reason why I found it enjoyable is because I was sat there going, look, Brentford are playing well, defending very well. They're not giving us any opportunities. If we can break these guys down and actually break this test down, then it'll give me a lot more confidence going into the future. So I was almost saying that if we don't pass it, then it is what it is because the team's trying. But if we do pass it, it'll be good. And we passed it. So it was excitement. It was that uncertainty, what would happen. But I was like, the amount of pressure we were creating that at one point it was going to go in. And when the player scored the winning goal, I couldn't stop celebrating.
Yeah, it ended up in a very, very fun day at the Emirates. And had you taken me out of the room, put me back in at about 85 minutes and watched that winner, I would probably be feeling the same as you. But that was, mate, I'm not built for this. I'm not built for this.
I don't think it's not that I specifically am, but it was just that I was looking at this going, we've been here before. So I'm used to being stressed. Let me flip it around and look at, okay, how can I look at this perspective differently? As I was sat there, I was like, look, man, let's find a way to enjoy this because it's suffering. But if it pays off, it'll be nice. And if it doesn't, it is what it is.
Let's definitely talk the positives first because, that is obviously the absolute headline today. Start off with Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz scores 4 goals in a row in the Premier League. I think the first time he scored 4 goals in league games. The first time he scored 4 in a row since Leverkusen. So huge. He's in unbelievable form. He's obviously first half I think he was slightly wasteful at times, but again, he's scoring consistently. A really, really good performance from him.
He's doing exactly what Mikel almost wants from him in the sense of offering us something different. So I think the goals that he scored today, like obviously people see Havertz as a direct Xhaka replacement, which I don't see. I see Rice as that player. But some people see Havertz as the player that's replaced Rice. Oh, sorry, Havertz is the player that replaced Xhaka. Could you imagine Xhaka scoring that goal today? Could you imagine Xhaka scoring the winner against Brentford? No, because he's different players. Rice is meant to be the Xhaka upgrade, which he totally is because he can play as a 6 as an 8 and he can score headers and score goals as well. And Havertz was meant to be the different profile to play as a striker like he did in the first half, then score these important goals like he's always done in his career, and give us something different where you can play Jesus and almost have a front 2 at one point, but a player that can also drop into midfield. It's also it all starts to make sense, and for a while for Arsenal fans, including myself, it didn't make sense. But when you get to this stage of the season and those little things fall into place, it's very nice.
And it's completely understandable that it's taken this amount of time to make sense. Like most signings do take a little while.
Not all visionaries like Mikel.
No, it's true. And not every player is Declan Rice, who can just come in and immediately lift your team and boost your team. Some players, especially with the place he was in at Chelsea, it's going to take him some time. And I think there's still areas of his game to work on. But Sham, thank you so much for your contribution. Does Toney's performance show that we need his profile next season? Havertz did miss the earlier chance.
I mean, Toney can miss the same chance. Like, it's not like a player guaranteed scores. We've seen Haaland do similar miss chances, and likewise Ossie when players miss chances. I'm not going to judge him off that. Yeah. But the Toney's performance was impressive. I'll be real. In terms of like the way he at times was bullying Gabriel, and it was a very equal battle. But I see very few strikers that cause Gabriel and Saliba at times that much issues. Yeah. We've seen Haaland try it, and he's not been able to do so. So to see Toney do it was definitely very impressive.
What I would say is, I think you're bang on. I think he gave Gabriel and Saliba a game. He didn't overcome them though, and that he wouldn't have needed to score. And it's very hard, even Haaland, has struggled this season. So it just shows you how good Saliba and Gabriel are. I'm not convinced by today, but I'm not convinced by him overall. So I think it's kind of one of those things.
I will say probably in terms of striking performances that caused those 2 issues, that was the most I've seen in a while. So I'll give him credit.
Certainly since City, 100%. I'd agree with you there. I'd agree with that. Perfect repetition before Porto. EM, thank you so much for your contribution. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's go back to the game. So in terms of the title race itself, we put ourselves in a really, really good position. I think we're now a point ahead of. I think we're certainly 2 points ahead of City and 1 point ahead of Liverpool. Which means obviously we turn our heads to tomorrow. But in terms of the title race, we've got 10 games to go. How you feeling?
Excited but nervous at the same time. because excitement because like anything's possible, but nervous because I look at those away games and it does scare me. United away, Spurs away, Wolves and Brighton. So those games are the ones that I look at and go, "This is a real test." But as it stands, I'm happy. 8 wins in a row. My only concern is, and this is maybe a bit pessimistic, is you've won 8 in a row. Do you expect? Because some fans expect this, and I find this crazy that we win every single game until the end of the season. I don't expect that. I don't expect 18 wins in a row, right? So that's why I'm trying to think of, okay, if we are going to drop points at one point, and if it does happen, where's it going to be? But look, until that happens, then I'm not stressed at all.
Yeah, I look at that. I look at our form, and that is the most exciting part of all this. I think it's the first time we've won 8 in a row under Arteta. I think it's the first time we've done that. I saw some, as I said at the beginning, in 9 years. You know, the form that we're currently in the history of Arsenal Football Club is a peak. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, this isn't some peak, this season. This is a peak at Arsenal Football Club for where we are. So we are in unbelievable form, and I'd like to sort of return to that maybe towards the end. Let's come to some more individuals. Malachi, thank you so much for your contribution. Honestly, how good has Rice been? If we have a fit 6 next season, he will be our best player. Also, Bhavs, you going on the big 6. And one more thing, Willie on the ball is a bit dodgy for a while now. Yeah, let's come to Rice. I mean, obviously the goal as well, but I mean, imagine he scored that banger to win it. Imagine.
Listen. He's one of those players I'm just so happy to have at Arsenal because I can flex him in front of my rival fans, and I know they're jealous. And I used to have the same with Harry Kane, and other players like that, where you watch them and go like, oh, why do they have him? And I'm sure it's the same with Rice, where fans just look at him and go, yeah. How did we let him? How do we let Arsenal get him? And obviously City tried their best, and I think we're seeing that forward aspect. There's no surprise that I tweeted at halftime or before halftime that Pep wanted to replace Gundogan with Rice because he saw this forward potential. His idols Yaya Toure, and going forwards, he seems very instinctive, comes natural to him, which is definitely a surprise, but also very exciting.
Yeah, the timing of his role was really. He was almost the second striker at points. He was sort of the dual tens with Havertz. It was really high.
If you notice it, he's very aggressive in that box, and I feel like he's got this onus on him to score more goals because he knows that the more goals he'll score. Because I think there was a competition at the start of the season on Monday Night Football about Rice himself, and it was Neville and Carragher. They were talking about for him to be worth that £100 million, he needs to add goals to his game.
Yeah.
So now he's adding goals to his game, and important goals as well.
Yeah, I don't know what's he on now. I'm going to just look it up quickly. But
6 goals, I think. 6 goals and 5 assists.
6 goals, but. Is it 11 GA? I'm sure his best season up to this point was like 5 GA or something like that.
I mean, he overcame it last week. His the winning goal, obviously, or the goal last week made it his highest goal scoring output season. So
yeah, you're right.
He's definitely scored more goals than before.
5 goals and 6 assists.
I think he's only 3 or 4 away Xhaka's entire tally last season. So Xhaka had 14 last year, and Rice is playing 6 for most of it. That's what I'm saying. Like, people need to always. It's been hard to see because obviously Rice has been playing as a 6, but seeing it now, people will understand this was the Xhaka upgrade. A player that can do what Xhaka can do, right? But also do the 6 role. If Partey is injured, you can play, Rice is a 6. You couldn't do a Xhaka. And then you've got Havertz, who gives us a different profile. And he's not linked to Xhaka. People keep doing it, and I think it's wrong.
Yeah. His best season was last season in the Premier League for West Ham, which was 6 GA, and he's already at 12 GA. So I earlier said 5 goals, actually 6 goals.
I guess.
6 goals, 6 assists. I mean, you'd expect a little bit of a bump, but already to be here with 10 games to go of the season, I think that's a really, really, really impressive from Rice. Are you going on the big 6, Bhavs?
We'll see if
don't promote other streams on our stream. So let's come to I kind of want to come to this. Overall, we should come to the Ramsdale thing. We'll talk through sort of players individually. Maybe we can come to that at some point. I do want to give credit to Brentford, though. I thought Brentford defended, especially without their first choice back 5, really well. Really, really well. They're really compact. They opted, which I was frustrated with for a while, and I would have come on here and been really annoyed about had we not got the goal, but which tells you about football analysis, right? They were very wide. They were really packing themselves wide, and we weren't making enough use of that space in front of the goal, I felt. And actually, the moments like Rice having time on the ball to pick out that shot, I felt we could have had more time, whether it was balls over the top from Jorginho, which is why I was a little upset that he went off. We obviously got there in the end. But I do want to give credit to Brentford because I don't think we should skip over that. I think they had a good game.
I think it's important for us to beat teams like that, where they're playing well. It's not just a matter of we're beating teams like Sheffield United and Burnley, and they're not even trying at times or not playing our standard. Brentford made it very hard for us today. They played like villains, but we made sure that Superman came out on top.
Absolutely. And Malachi, thanks again for your contribution. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing with the form, isn't it? It's like if we want to be in the same way Mikel says, if we want to be the best team in the world, we have to accept that we want the best stadium in the world. We have to accept that we want the best youth academy in the world. We want the best everything in the world, and we have to be, hitting those levels.
Best podcast in the world.
Exactly. The Arsenal Vision podcast. So this one. Listen, we've had some question marks, Bhavs, about the field tilt, and I think we should share it now because it comes out from Scotty Willis.
I don't think is it crazy numbers? Oh, it is.
That is beautiful.
Okay, we're getting there.
That is absolutely beautiful.
It's not quite 90% as last week, so it's not as good. But
80.5. That is gorgeous. That is gorgeous.
It's all right.
It's sort of like the Rocky Mountains. Look at this. The peaks and troughs. Absolutely lovely. Look at this.
Himalayas.
The Himalayas. Let's come to some individual performances. We've got a super chat here from Bizwajit Chowdhury, who says, do you think Zinni starts ahead of Kivior since he's back now? Let's come to Kivior in a second. Let's go through some individual performances. Let's start at the front. Let's come to Ramsdale at the end. Let's start at the front. Saka?
I think he was... I wouldn't say he was amazing.
He was effective.
He was trying, exactly. He was doing his thing. And there's a few times he got to the byline and beat his man and cut it back. And it was just slightly off. But it's one of those games where he wasn't poor, wasn't special, just, did his job.
Yeah. I think as you always feel with Saka, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen down that side. And I thought that as well. Didn't contribute, but, he was very close to it at a certain point.
Am I right in saying that Ben White got 2 assists?
Yep. That's 3 GA in the last 2 games for Ben White.
Wow.
Really solid. Havertz, we've spoken about. Trossard on the left-hand side. I don't love it. I love his press resistance, and I love how technically secure he is and the way he comes into the midfield and creates that overload. But as a winger, I do think we lose something. I was surprised not to see Reece, to be honest.
Yeah, he came on obviously towards the end, and I can see why he doesn't have that same explosive pace as Martinelli. So I think that's why Mikel was probably looking for a new profile, anyways, in the summer. A player that is like a Nico Williams or a Neto, who is that dribblers, and we don't really have that as much. Martinelli and Saka can do it, but a proper out and out dribbler.
Yeah.
Doku at bits. That type of player who can just break a system down because of his individual brilliance.
Yeah, completely agree. Coming to midfield, Odegaard.
I think he was good. I think most of our players are good, to be fair. They could do a little bit more going forwards, but I also realised Brentford made it very hard. So it's me picking, but ultimately I think it was solid performance. I like the fact that I think he's starting to win more and more duels as well. Like he's stronger. He's very hard to push off the ball nowadays. And he talked about in his post game last time when he was like, "Look, I want to win more duels." Yep. And I think it's obviously because he plays for a manager who loves his duels.
There was a moment where he put in a cross on his right foot, and I thought we were going to get a replay because it was so. It was a moment where we were on Odegaard for ages. And I thought we're getting a replay of a cross of his right foot because it's so rare. But yeah, I'd like to see that more.
He was like, Odegaard on his right foot.
Exactly. But he got himself out of some really tight spaces. I thought we didn't need to press much because that's not really how the game played. But we know how useful he is for that. Rice, we've spoken about, incredible. Jorginho, I thought was really sharp. I think he was a little bit unlucky to come off, to be honest.
Yeah, but it also made sense because Mikel wanted to have an extra man in the box, and having Jesus and Havertz do that rather than Rice, who's not as natural as Havertz is, and it made sense. It won us the game eventually, that specific move. But Jorginho was fantastic, and I like the way he's always looking to play that ball in behind, and obviously that first half chance to Havertz, which was onside anyways, if he had scored that is the type of pass that I like, and it's just pure football.
We should come to the penalty incidents as well in a second. Let's come to the super chat. So do you guys think Zinni starts ahead of Kivior since he's back now? And thoughts on Kivior's performance?
I mean, maybe in certain games, but I don't know. I don't think Kivior was poor today. I think he was, is he as good as Zinchenko on the ball? Probably not. But he is still solid and he's still pretty technically secure. But defensively, there was that, there was a moment in the first half where the ball goes over Saliba and Gabriel and he's there at the far post. Yep. So, stuff like that, where I'm like, Zinchenko is not as good at that. And wouldn't be surprised if he made that way and gave it away. So I think the defensive security is something that I don't want to sacrifice.
I think what it is with Zinchenko is we think, naturally Zinchenko should come back into the team, but I don't think we're as reliant. It's not even just on him; it's on one game model. We were so reliant on that ball progression through Zinchenko. Everything was funneled through him. Now we can get the ball up the pitch in different ways. We can defend in different ways. We attack in different ways. We can be more transitional. We have so many different ways of skinning a cat now that it's not so the moment Zinchenko's back, let's get him back into the team. If we feel that there is maybe against Porto, specific game. For example, Porto, they're
in this game as well. For example, like Mikel saw him and go like deep block. Need a player who can keep the ball. Go for it. It's possible.
Go for it. Against Porto, I thought their wingers got out to us really, really quickly. If you wanted to pull your fullback inside to give that space for someone, to sort of create that dilemma for the winger, then maybe it just does depend on the game. Saliba and Gabriel, I thought handled Toney really, really well. Gabriel was a little bit worried about, especially when he got the yellow card after the first few minutes. But the fact he managed to handle it basically the rest of the game was really good.
Yeah, what I'll say is the Brentford strikers did their job. They made it difficult, and that's a credit to them. And I think in terms of Gabriel and Saliba, it was a test that maybe in the past they've not quite been able to live up to. But in this specific game, they made sure that even if you have shaky moments, it's okay. I'll go up again and I keep going, and eventually you come out on top. And there was this moment, I think, right towards the end with Gabriel, I think wanted past Toney. I was like, okay, that's what I want.
Yeah. And Ben White, I thought was terrific and has been terrific for this whole run. He's in the best form he's been for Arsenal.
Yeah, when he's fit, I love his role for the corners.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. Don't watch the corners. Just watch Ben White from corners. Yeah. It is his own game in itself.
He's so funny, man. When he's fit, he is so useful. He's the support. I do think sometimes he doesn't quite time. Occasionally, I watch the runs, and it's almost like the Brentford players are just like, I know that's not being picked up on. That's just a support run. I think sometimes he needs to sort of tone it back in on the runs. But the support he gives Ødegaard and Saka, the technical security he gives us, the 2 assists today, the crosses from the half space, I think is something I think we could see more crossfield switches. But mate, the athleticism, the timing, the defensive security today, he gave Lewis Potter, not that he's not Doku, but he gave him absolutely nothing, and he's given a lot of wingers absolutely nothing over the last few weeks. I thought he's been terrific.
Yeah, he has, and it also helps with the whole Zinchenko stuff, when he's not being available, we've got a player on the right-hand side now inverting over, and it allows Kiwior to play better, and it gives the team more balance. Going forwards, 2 assists, I can't ask for much more.
Yep. Before we talk about Ramsdale, 1,223 of you in here. Thank you so much for joining us after every single game. Instant reaction. We'll be here, so make sure you like and subscribe. Let's talk Aaron Ramsdale. Mate, when it happened, so I was watching with 3 mates. When it happened, it was like someone died. Like, the atmosphere was pretty good. I genuinely was like this for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the tweet. I think you must have said something like, if you're in the ground, support him. And I was definitely the same thing. I was like, I knew that on Twitter heads would be lost. And if we had lost this game, by the way, or not won this game, sorry, then I mean, it would have still been like that. And I was hoping more that we'd scored a goal for him as well, because this is probably his last Arsenal game in the Premier League, anyways. Unless an injury happens, and if that's the case, I don't want it to be where he ended it on a mistake and he cost Arsenal a point. So we've done the job for him, and also, look, that's what Ramsdale is, where he has that moment, but then the second half he has a very good save, and he has another very good save. Like, that's what Ramsdale's all about, is inconsistencies. But I like the fact that he's resilient, and that even when you could see at half time, he knows the world's talking about him. He knows us podcasters are going to be talking about it after the game. But it's like, I have to get the job done, and that's what football is all about.
And you sense he's going to be, he's the sort of person who'd listen to them as well, which is probably part of the problem.
His dad listens.
His dad definitely listens. Hello, if you're watching. Yeah, mate, it was like someone died. It was really weird. I mean, clearly Mikel had a word with him at half time and just said, just put it long. And had we sat here after the game with a loss, I would have said that was part of it, because a lot of the game in the second half became a basketball match because he was just lumping it long, and because Brentford knew we weren't going to play out from the back, so they just sat back a little bit. So it became a slightly different game. I will say I do agree with you in terms of his whole career. I don't think it's been Ramsdale the whole time. Like, in terms of his whole career at Arsenal, has been very certain highs and certain lows. Maybe one game where it kind of sums it up, because he has 2 really, really good saves. And then obviously that moment is kind of the perfect summation of Ramsdale's career. I was just going to say that I it's a shame, and there's no one person to blame here, but Ramsdale doesn't play like that when he's confident. He was taking extra touches on the ball. He was the whole first half an hour. I didn't want to say anything, but I actually nearly texted a couple of people saying Ramsdale looks nervous. He looks really nervous, and people are saying we shouldn't try and play the same way as we do with Raya. We weren't. We weren't trying to play the same way.
His first touch was going long.
He was way deeper. Our defenders, if you notice, they were a little bit closer to him. There were a number of different things that with Raya, he can step into the centre back, and Saliba and Gabriel basically on the wings. They were right next to him supporting him, and he still happened. He's nervous, and I don't want to go, Mikel dropping him caused that. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think it's fair to look at that in isolation. I've seen people just completely turn on him and go, this is ridiculous. It's a very unfortunate situation that's ended up with us here, which he needs to take accountability for. The situation needs to be taken into account. A number of things need to be taken into account. But I think what will happen, which I don't like, is I think there'll be a narrative flipped of that was always the player. That's not true. That's not true. Ramsdale wasn't always like that.
We have to also understand context provided. Every keeper makes mistakes. We had with Raya early in the year against City where he could have cost us a goal there and there. It happens, and sometimes keepers get punished, sometimes they don't, and it's football. Alisson makes the most mistakes in the league at times. Some of the worst ones we've ever seen. Likewise, Ederson. So I'm not going to paint a narrative and slander the player. It's football. He tries to play Mikel's way at times and hold on to the ball a little bit longer. It happens. It's not that deep. We've seen it work in Arsenal's favour when Aubameyang did it years and years ago. Like, it's not that. I don't think it's worth reading into too much. And I actually appreciate the fact that he came out in the second half and he didn't sink into it. And he never does. He never does. Yep. He always grows into it and he goes, look, I've made a mistake, but it is what it is, and we keep moving.
Yep. I don't know what he was smiling about. Yeah. He did one of these. I will say, he doesn't help himself. He did one of, and I know it was to the Brentford fans, but I'm like, mate, in this game of all games, don't be doing that.
I think the image in his mind he's got is, and the narrative in his mind, which is perfectly fair, is, look, I cost us the first goal, but I saved us in the second half. Because he'll probably think that save that he made, where I know people think he should have saved it, but it's a save that, if it goes in, it's a good chance and, it's a good save. So I think he'll feel like, look, people won't talk about this now. If we don't win the league at the end of the season, it won't, because Ramsdale cost us the game against Brentford.
Yeah, I think that's the key. That's the key point.
And it's one of those where, and obviously the Brentford fans, after making that mistake in the first half, the second half have been giving it to him. They've been saying there's that one geezer in the corner who's got a Stone Island on, and he's going, yeah, you're gonna give it away again, and then he obviously scores. We go and score the winning goal. So I get it, man. It is what it is.
This is a couple of things. Yeah, and I always want to be. Thank you so much for your contribution. Appreciate it. You guys are my favourite show. Hope we win. Hoped we win. I can read. Hope we win so that we can gloss over Rambo. Selling for decent money is key. Come with Yao. Come with Havertz. Love these games. Yeah, I think I'm glad we won, so we can kind of gloss over it. I will say we were saying on the podcast, and not to toot our own trumpet, but we were saying on the podcast in August, and I remember all the comments saying, this is ridiculous, this is disgraceful, that there's little things that Raya does that we're going to get used to. And then when someone else doesn't do it, it's baiting the press, it's putting his foot on it, it's being brave. It's all the things that and a lot of other people, not just us, a lot of people were saying, but the response to it was, it doesn't matter, it's not a big enough difference. You see it today. The team gets used to it. It is a big difference when it's all added up over a course of the season.
I think here's the way I put it is, if, for example, Raya made the same exact error, which is possible, and we can see the goal, I still think the Arsenal players stick to their guns and they pass back to him, and they keep playing the same way. The issue with Ramsdale is, I think there's obviously this sense of, okay, this guy can be inconsistent times in the first place, and then he makes a mistake that the players, like, subconsciously go in, should I pass to him, should I not pass to him, and it creates that, makes you indecisive. So I think the thing with Raya is he can stick to the game plan Mikel exactly wants, and we can now see in this game why it's so important, because you get so much more confidence playing out of the back, and Jurgen Klopp said it once. He says Raya is a playmaker playing in goal. So Mikel's, he's got that in goal where he can play almost as an outfielder, and it's a little fine margins that could have cost us today, but thankfully it didn't.
Yep. I will say that what you said earlier about maybe he feels he saved us in the second half. I think Raya's positioning would have meant that Toney doesn't try that. It would have been a much more comfortable save. And I also, and we're then playing, well, Raya would have said that, Ramsdale would have saved that.
Look,
but also, let me finish. What I will say is, I think that happens. And I also think the save for Collins would have been a lot more comfortable. I think Ramsdale does a real,
it might have been.
It's
but
slightly
it didn't
cameras. It's slightly cameras.
So let's not be apathetical now.
Let us know what you think in the comments. Let's move forward to Tom Canton, who's just tweeted out that Gabriel Martinelli just walked through the mix zone on crutches.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't worry about that too much. The reason that I think, and I could be wrong, it's been known to happen, I could be wrong, but I think the reason he just doesn't want to put any pressure on it. And if it's a cut, you don't want to open it. Obviously, it's not a good sign. I'm not saying that, but don't put 10, 15 games in your head.
I mean, he went down holding that specific cut.
Yeah.
And we could see it in the game. It didn't seem like, even the actual challenge itself, didn't seem like he twisted his ankle or twisted his knee or anything like that. So I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, it is a bit of a, yeah. I mean, we'll wait and see. Maybe I'm slightly
positive,
being too positive, but being on crutches doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means always. Let's go to what else should we talk? Oh, the penalty decisions. I think we could have had a penalty. I think we could have had 2 penalties.
The Trossard one for me is the most blatant one. I think
Trossard one, agree.
I mean, he's not getting onto it, but he's still, he's been pulled back and it's a foul. And if that's across any other part of the pitch, it's a foul. So I don't get why in the box they have these different rules. But we've seen that exact thing given, though. That's the point that annoys me. We've seen that tug on Gabriel given. Was it against United in the city? Was it Hoyland against Rodri? We've seen it given. So I think the referee had a hard game today because both players are going for it. I will say that. But at the same time, it just doesn't make sense at times. So I'm going like, that is a foul though. Like if it's blatant, it's still a foul, and that's the whole point of the penalty. If there's a foul inside the box, it's a penalty. So you have to get to the point where if those players start getting penalised, they won't do that anymore. We won't have to have these conversations.
Yep, I think arguably the Gabriel one's a foul. I think there was another one on Ødegaard. Maybe was there an Ødegaard? Oh, no, that was for me that was the most egregious one where I think it's Norgard just leans into Ødegaard.
Oh, in the first stuff. Yeah, again, I think that was a little bit. We
score straight after, so people don't worry about it. But
when I see a player easily just blatantly grab a player, not go for the ball and just pull him backwards, I mean that is a foul. You're not going for the ball. Yeah, you're not doing anything to that. You're just trying to hold him back. Yeah. And I think it's one of those where if the ball's a bit closer to Trossard, that's a guaranteed penalty. But it's still a foul. It's the same foul. It's just that the ball's a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Blaze. People in the chat need to accept Raya will start for Ramsdale. I think that ship sailed.
Yeah.
I think that ship has absolutely sailed.
I think, and it wasn't just this game. Even the game where Ramsdale started against Brentford, months and months ago, away. Even that game, you could see the little things. And a lot of his confidence plays, I'm not going to judge him just purely off that. But there's little things that Raya does better than Ramsdale because it's natural to him. So that's what it is. When Ramsdale goes to maybe a team that suits his style better, we might see the best of him there and there. But some keepers just, for what Mikel wants is very specific. And, if you can't do the specific role, you get replaced. And that's what Mikel's done.
Yep. Let's come to some questions. Stick your questions and comments and stuff in the chat, and we'll come to as many of them as we can. We've had something in from Team News and Ticks, the very reliable Team News and Ticks, who says, so he quoted himself. So on February the 18th, he said, she, football business changes so quickly. This time last week, I'd have expected Toney to be an Arsenal player in the summer. I'm not now quite confident that he won't be. He's quote tweeted himself and said, feel a lot more comfortable saying this after that. The reason we aren't going after Toney is they really, really dislike him as a person. The words they used were a lot stronger, but I felt I'd keep it PG.
It makes sense. I think that makes sense.
Look, I said this in the video when I said I didn't want Toney. The Diary of a CEO stuff and the stuff he's done with Sky, I look, think what you want about it, and you could say football's business, get over it, but I just got a horrible vibe. Yeah.
I'm not going to label him a horrible person, not at all, because I don't know him, right? But from what you hear and that type of interview, and I think, Brentford supporting him doing that interview, saying, I want to go anyways. Okay, it's football. But even I think there was a recent video of, and this is just football itself, but was it Levi Colwell talking about the hardest strikers he's played against? And he was Toney, because he's a speaker. He'll just talk to you all game. And, some people might think that's football, but I think, look, if you're good enough, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
If we're playing an individual game, as some, the Brentfords and the teams a little bit further
He's a
down.
Villain. He is a villain. That's what he is. He's a football villain, and that is what it is for him. But for Arsenal, I just always thought, would Mikel Arteta want a player that's in the headlines so much because of himself and not his football? And I was doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying.
His profile, I think it makes a lot of sense. But the player, the person, and what he does off the field, not at all.
Yeah, I think I sense he's a very individualistic player, certainly, and that's not what we're, and I could project to the person, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're building. I don't think.
I always go back to that moment where I think he was with a girl in a holiday years ago, and he's obviously a Brentford player at this time, and the girl just says F Brentford, and he repeats it, F Brentford. You're a Brentford player. Why are you saying that? What's the need for you to say that? You know what I mean? And so stuff like that, I'm like, Mikel sees that.
So mad. We've got us. MC says, "Get your tilts." Oh, get your tilts out.
Oh,
I misread that. That's funny. Well done. We've done the field tilt already, Em. But thank you so much for your contribution. It was 80. What was it? 80.4. Unbelievable. Malachi, thanks so much for your contribution again. Very much appreciated. He could join them when he's not playing. Well, then could do an interview like a certain Belgian striker. Exactamundo. Let's do some questions. Have you got anything you want to say, anything you want us to discuss, please get out in the chat. wow, nearly 1,500. We've got over 10% of the entire subscriptions to the channel live here. Subscribers to the channel. Sorry. On the live, which is crazy. Milo Haynes says, talk Reece Nelson and Jesus. Reece pressed with great energy and Jesus is technically sensational. Like the ball is glued to his foot at moments, just needs to find results from it more consistently.
The only thing with Jesus that I have is that history of him missing big chances and big moments. So the moment he comes off the bench, I'm not going, oh, he might score. I'm going, if we do get a chance, will he score? Will he take that chance? That was the fear I had, and it's just a fear, obviously. But in terms of that, the other parts, the technical ability, I'm not in a doubt at all. I know they can do all that type of stuff, but my thing was, if that chance that fell to Havertz, fell to Jesus, would it end up in the top corner or over the bar? And it's just like that again, and we're like, oh, and then it's the same in the same conversations. But look, I think he's very good technically.
Yeah, I think on Reece, I'd ask you to have a look at a Saka and look at his effectiveness in the final third and look at his decision making and compare that to Reece. I think Reece has not quite Saka's, but has an unbelievable technical level. But his decision making in the final third, when he chooses to dribble, when he chooses to pass, when he chooses to arrive, all that stuff. When you see it, when it's right, you just see it. You just know it. You just watch it and you see it in front of you. And I don't think it's right at the moment on Reece. And I felt that for a little while. Bijowitz, thank you so much for your contribution. The fact that Raya and Kai have become so integral, especially with the starts they had, is crazy. It goes on to prove that Senor Mikel knows best. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Mikel's talent ID hit rate is becoming pretty scary.
Especially the players that people are like, they're going to guarantee flop. And I always say it, like, give him time. You will see it in time. Why are you judging a player and jumping to conclusions after 2 games? It doesn't make sense to me. You know, because now he scores, like Havertz scores a winning goal and he's not a flop anymore. What, from one goal he's become from flop. It's not as black and white as that. You know, and Mikel Arteta's history shows that he knows what he's doing. And you're competing with 2 of the greatest managers the league's ever seen, and you're above them right now in the league. I just think he might know what he's doing. I mean,
no. Guna fan 343 does. What's the ideal scoreline for tomorrow's game?
Ideal is a 0-0. 0 goals scored. So the goal scored goes
7 injuries each.
Yeah. Or
maybe 11 injuries each.
Yeah. 0 goals scored, 0-0, boring L. And a little Klopp and Pep fight on the touchline, so they both get banned for the rest of the season. I will be there.
We will be there. I said this, and I'm interested in your take on it. I wouldn't hate a Liverpool win because I trust Liverpool to drop points in these last 10 games way more than I trust City. Yeah. And I think the reason I say that is because I think if City win, that's just that for me, that's just, honestly, the league's gone. I think City win the league if they win this on tomorrow.
Yeah. I very much see it similar because I think with City, it's them winning at Anfield with fans there. It's never happened. So if they do it this season, he'll be like, okay, we'll beat a team, and they would obviously go above them as well. I think they'd go above Arsenal as well. So it's one of those where that would really give them momentum. Then of course, if they can go and beat Arsenal at the Etihad, which is not impossible, then it becomes one of those games where. But with Liverpool winning, as you said, I agree. If they win this game, you know, I'm sure their fans will be excited. But I look at it and go, you're far more vulnerable.
Yes.
Than City are. So I can see you dropping points against, you know, a team like Brentford or someone like that. But City, I don't. City find a way. And that's why, you're right. I think the results, like in terms of order, draw, Liverpool win, and then City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. Some people have gone, what? No, a draw. Honestly, I wouldn't mind either, a draw or Liverpool win, because I feel that strongly that Liverpool will drop points. I understand it, but it's like, you know, being in a race with Usain Bolt, me and you, and me turning around and wasting time shooting Usain Bolt in the leg. People go, "What are you doing? Run!" It's like, no, but that he is going to catch me. So I'd rather City get beaten. So yeah. Matt G, has your heart rate come down yet? I'm still breathing. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I found that game really stressful.
It's exciting.
You, Mr. Positive. Mr. Positive. Oh, I'm Bhavs. Oh, everything's fine.
No, it was exciting, man. I don't know, man. I was like, this is football, man. It's a battle. You don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm like, anything's possible. But I mean, that's the beauty, innit? Boring is boring, innit? Easy is boring.
Easy is boring, apparently. I'd take it easy. Such a tough game, fought to the last minute. Not good for a must-win UCL tie within 48 hours, no?
I mean, in terms of belief-wise, I'd say no, but I agree. It was draining as hell. But if you're fighting for a title, expect games like this. And there's no team that wins a title winning every single game 4-0. I'm sorry to break it to Arsenal fans. You're going to have games
Crazy.
like this, especially when the opposition team is coached so well, especially in terms of defending corners and set pieces. They knew exactly what to do and how to cause his issues. And obviously, going forwards, you've got two strikers that can cause any defender's issues, especially Raya and Toney. So, we got past the test, and we've got past the test of a team doing well, but us just getting over them.
Malachi says, I don't know if you thought of this, but you should get Mikel on the pod. Would be a great addition.
Nah, I don't rate his ball knowledge personally. So, I think...
Can you imagine how whooped we would get by Mikel? Just anything we say, no.
You're like,
not true.
But George goes,
not the case.
Well,
yeah, George
what do
goes,
I mean by that?
Actually, Mikel, I am going to stop you right there. He's Mikel's mid sentence. George is like, I'm just going to stop you there.
Yeah. I can, George and Mikel. I mean, look, Mikel, if you want a new assistant coach, we've got one. Just have to fly him out from Canada, and exactly. He's a bit busy at certain times of the day, and he won't have a good microphone. So
yeah, he'll be on the skull candies. MJ, Kai Havertz is making the hybrid centre forward role his own. The Kai Havertz role will be a term label that becomes universal in Europe. Thank you for your contribution, MJ, and we love you on this channel. MJ is one of our editors and does shorts for us. What a man.
Yeah, I think he's correct there for sure. Maybe not the Kai Havertz role just yet, but with someone mentioned when we signed him that he could be like our Julian Alvarez, where he can either complement the striker or be the striker, and that's what he's doing. He's arriving into the box, and this was the perfect example of it as well, of why Mikel Arteta signed him. You saw it in the Brentford game early in the season, but he wasn't in the best of form then. Now he's in good form, and he then does this and scores another important goal and celebrates like that. Then, yeah, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Can we get George a mic, please? He's got a mic.
Just leaves it in the other.
This is the
his
mic's
in
part
London,
about it.
And he's in Canada. That's the only issue. Like, he doesn't have the mic next to his face. So, yeah, maybe just bring the mic closer.
I cannot tell you guys how many times I've told George, you need to wear headphones because otherwise we can hear. He's like his football knowledge is unbelievable, but he doesn't know how to unlock a phone. It's like he's from like the 40s. It's crazy.
Yeah. Comments. I want you to just go and message George right now. Blood is mentions. Buy a microphone.
Wait, so you guys can hear my audio? Like, yes, because you haven't got headphones on. Love you, George. Green Shark says, we love you guys. This stream's like a family. Want to continue to celebrate after the match has ended. Keep them going. Thank you, Green Shark. Appreciate that very much. Ty will bring you unbelievable subscribers. Alex Bhavs, who are your priorities for the summer window?
First things first, priority is to have a nice little parade after winning a title. Maybe
we would be
two
there.
Parades. If we won the Champions League, I think we would have two parades. I wouldn't want just one with both.
We'd have a cannonpod
one
parade.
For the Champions League. Yep, one with the Champions League. Then we take it to Canada as well. We'll just rent the trophy out for a day. Take it to Canada so we can celebrate in the cold there. Then come back to the UK and have another one. I think that's the priority. But in terms of players, what's your thoughts on like an Amadou Onana type of player? Because I saw it again today, and then again I saw Hatto's performance against Villa, and I was like, jeez, there's a player there.
Yeah. No, I like them both. Hatto, I saw the comp that went round. I'm not as sold on him.
Why?
Like, I think his decision making is good. He's brave. He's obviously punchy. He tackles exactly like
Very
Declan
punchy.
Rice again, which is great. And Timber, it's like they've got this like hook thing that's crazy. The way he takes the ball is a little bit shaky to me. Like sometimes he receives it and it just bounces off him a little bit. And I maybe I need to watch him more. I don't know. But I watched that. I know the comp you're talking about. I watched it and I was like, I'm not sure that's the best. I've seen him play better than that anyway. I like the Amadou Onana shout. I think it's a very different profile to what we have. The midfield, we went through this. I'll talk about Arsenal so much, can't remember when, but I went through this. I think it all blurs into one. I think that if it depends with the midfield, it depends who leaves. If Partey leaves, I think Onana's a shout. If Partey stays, I don't know. We might need to get a different type of midfield.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a bit of a dilemma now in my eyes of Rice because he's very good as a 6. Playing as an 8, he just turns into a different animal. And I'm going, give him more time because he's only played 3, 4, 5, 6 games a season, not even a large sample size. Give him time there to be coached and to do what to do. And there's real potential for him to be a real. People think he's a Rodri, but he could be more than Rodri in terms of going forwards, and he could be that number 8. And then it poses the question of actually, should we just get number 6 instead of that number 8 to replace Xhaka, which Rice is?
Yes, but my answer to that, if you are going to have Rice further forward, that's I think in a game where you think you're going to have a lot of the ball, because I don't think you want someone who's maybe a little bit more got something more technical in the final third in terms of like the final ball than a Rice. I think if you feel like you're going to spend less time in there. So then for me, Rice steps forward in these types of games and steps back in the sort of the City, the Liverpool types of games. So then I'd prefer a sort of controller. I sort of like what we have at the minute. I like Jorginho
very much
as a controller in these games because he keeps us high. You notice when we're sort of camped in the final third, Jorginho's just stood here and every ball comes back to him and either knocks it over the top or recycles it. He does so well. So yeah.
Maybe just get a time machine and make Jorginho younger.
If only. We can dream. We can dream. Did you see that clip of Pep talking about Trent? I thought it was so funny.
He start whistling. He's a psycho. I'm sorry. He's a psycho. There's this you know those characters in movies like the Money Heist. That is Pep in real life. I don't know how he's.
You do. To be fair though, if you met someone, if you just
imagine that being your father.
Yeah, outside of the context of football, if you met someone who's like, yeah, my dad works like 18-hour days, like he's like the best in his job ever, and he just keeps going and he keeps winning, and he's like still obsessed with it. Like, geez, oh my god, he's quite an intense guy. Yeah. And then you meet him and he's like, you're not okay.
His mind is vibrating at different frequencies. We're not on that frequency. That we can't process it. That was a signal. He did signal to someone, but we didn't see it as that. We can't, like, you know how space you just have to anticipate aliens and stuff. That's what Pep was doing. He was speaking to the alien races, but we just couldn't understand.
He's speaking to Johan Cruyff in the afterlife.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. Next game, 4-3. I'll do.
Let's do 3 more questions before we close this off because we've gone to 40 minutes. Christ,
it's very enjoyable.
It's absolutely.
Winning is nice, isn't it?
Winning, I would argue, winning is better than losing.
Yeah, just though.
Just. Now, Bhavs, bro, you need to cook those frauds, Toby and Matisse, on the Big Six show on Monday. They've been running their shameless Havertz agenda too much this season.
I don't need to. They can have their opinions.
What's there to cook? We're top of the league.
Yeah, and as I was saying, I think the thing is, I can't transform their minds to understand Havertz if they don't want to. So I can tell them all I want to and give them the context, but if they don't want to see it, they'll always go blind to it. But, that's their opinions, and I don't have to change that.
Mm-hmm. MC, second to last question. Should we look at players that Real Madrid may let go to fund the Mbappe deal?
It's not a bad comment, to be fair.
Camavinga. As that different type of midfielder that I was just talking about. If we keep Partey. Woo!
Yeah, I think, look, I don't think they'll let Camavinga go personally, but I mean, maybe they've got this nice player, number 5, does nice celebrations. I think he would be nice as well. Man like Jude.
Cody Newton, your beard looks weird. Your beard looks weird, spelt wrong. Which one of us? Both.
Yeah, we got weird.
Both of us. Both looks weird. Let's have one more question. Bhavs, you can pick it. Go on, pick the last question.
Yeah, let me look at the comments. Okay.
What about this one?
No. Question. What is the most reactive elements in the first Havertz?
I'm going to go hydrogen. Milo, that's my guess.
H2O.
That's not an element.
Listen, I wasn't good at science, but I was good at football. That's a bit of a dodgy question. We can't do that. Give me some good questions, lads. Here we go. What's your feeling? What's the game plan? Alex, talk to me.
Sorry, that's funny.
That is good. That's very good.
I think today slightly took the shine off the football we've been playing at the minute, so I'm more happy to move things around a little bit. I wouldn't be against a very attacking lineup and just absolutely going at it from the start. Literally Saliba, Gabriel, White, and then just chuck everything at them because I'd actually be pretty down with that. I don't want to see us go, Havertz in the midfield, Trossard at 9, doing all that sort of stuff. Like, just go for it. I think we need to make it. It's much more about the occasion and one of those kind of important Champions League nights at the Emirates. Pre-Newcastle, that felt massive. And I think it needs to become one of those kind of occasions, not to put it all vibes and whatever. The only thing I'd say tactically is I felt as though we were a little bit on the back foot last time. I didn't think our approach was wrong. It was just we were slightly on the back foot. We were a bit scared, so we need to get the entire stadium behind us, and that is what I think will help the players actually step forward and go for it.
Yeah, I think it's all about the start. if we can make an electrifying start, be up 2-0 in the first, few minutes, or first 20, 30 minutes, which you can do, by the way, break them down a few times, and I think it'll give the players the confidence to go, and they are beatable, of course they are, but to just break them down a few times to get past that, subconscious block, and I reckon we're cooking. Well, lads, I've also got the power to end the stream. I've got the power.
Bhavs actually does have the power. Are you going to let me play touch balls or no?
If I can close my eyes and take my headphones off and walk out of the room, then
you are allowed. The people love it.
People do not love it. People do not love it.
People tell me.
If you were to have a poll, they would vote no.
If there was right, put it in the chat right now.
You can do polls.
Let's do it right now. How do you do it?
You have to go onto YouTube. Let's just ask the comments to comment yes or no.
Okay, comment yes or no. Do you want touch balls? Look,
do you want touch balls?
How dare you, Bhavs? We do. Yes, we do. Touch balls. Do a poll. Give the people what they want.
And this is why Mikel Arteta is never coming on the Cannon podcast. Specifically because of this.
Listen, we appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much for...
Do you notice that, Alex, by the way? You mentioned that and 200 viewers just dropped.
It didn't.
It did. From 1.4K to 1.2K.
It's because we're clearly ending, so everyone's going, right.
No, it's because of the touch balls.
No. Thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate it. Subscribe to the Cannon podcast on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on patreon.com. You can find our full episodes, etc., on channel memberships. We are changing fairly soon to a slightly different model, which will be very exciting for people. But anyway, let's move forward. Bhavs, tell you what, I'll come to a compromise. How about this? We won't have touch balls, but we will have this.
Oh, yes. Bring me that other way.
Come on, Jamie. Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Rice, baby. Rice, baby. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Rice is back with my brand new invention. Something got a hold of me tightly. Flow like a hot pole, daily and nightly. Will it ever stop, yo? I don't know. Turn off the lights, yo. I now glow to the extreme. I rock a mic like a vandal. Ladder from stage, I watch a light like a chapel. Damn, got a resonant movement. Killing that brain with the poisonous mushroom deadly. When I play it, don't ready. Anything less is the best, is a felony. Love it, I hate it, I better gain weight. You better hit the rules and keep no play. And if there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Pick out the road with my DJ results. Rice, baby.
You don't like to touch balls? So I love it. So yeah, come. You don't like to touch balls? You don't like to touch balls? Touch balls? You don't like to 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 touch balls? So I love it. The Korean guy, and so I love it. You don't like to touch balls?